Hey guys, today I want to talk about a few common mistakes that are done with Rehgar, as well as kind of how to fix these, and a few extra tips on Rehgar as well. So let me toggle some cooldowns really quick, and I want to get into the first mistake. The first mistake is oftentimes people don't follow up their ancestral healing with ways to protect the person. They assume they toss out an ancestral healing on someone, and then they cross their fingers that they're going to survive for that second. But you can actually ensure that they survive by that second, because when you're picking your talents and you're going through, there's a lot of things that you can do to make it to where they have just that little bit of extra life while they're going. So the first talent is here at Earth Shield. It gives 12% of their maximum life. As well as, I mean, there's variations of this, but remember this is healing over time. And then whatever talent you get here, that's fine. And there are two talents at 20 that can help out with this. But the first thing that I want to share is this. I see too many people, they toss out the Ancestral and they hope for the best. What you need to do is you need to Ancestral and then do your WQ. That means that not only is there a giant heal that's about to come up, they need to now burst through 12% of the hero's health, as well as an extra 500 health. This essentially guarantees that you're going to land the Ancestral at level 13 or later. Level 20, people get a little bit more burst because they hit their power spikes, but you also have two ways to improve this. You can go Rewind if you're very quick, where you can toss your Ancestral Healing, WQ, Rewind, WQ, and they are definitely not going down. But my reaction time is not quite up to that level, so I like to go with Storm Shield. This means that the enemy or your allies are all going to get 20% of their maximum health shielded, plus the one ally that you're trying to save is going to get 12 extra percent, so they're going to have 32% of their max health shielded, followed by 500, as well as they're going to get that burst heal at the end. There is absolutely no way that someone is going to be able to burst through 32% of someone's health right before an Ancestral goes off in 1 second. It is nearly impossible. So, just to show the combo how it goes, let me toggle cooldowns for a second, and it effectively looks like this. So, there you go. You simply pop your shield, your Q, right after you do an Ancestral, and the Ancestral is guaranteed to land. That is the first mistake that I commonly see, is people don't abuse that simple trick, honestly. The next common mistake that I see is just bad initiates in general. Let me get an enemy hero out here, someone that's a little squishy but not too bad, and I'm going to get some minions out here. And I want to share with you just the why this initiate is so strong and why you should be doing it, especially if you want to be trying to carry as a support. So effectively, this is what you want to do. You want to use your E behind them after using your Ghost Wolf to get close to them, and then you want to put the W either on your E or on yourself, which is going to get them in a really tough position. And then you want to keep auto-attacking them until your Z's back up, because the cooldown's 4 seconds. This is what it looks like. You Z to get the gap close, you toss that on the other side, you do your W, and you auto-attack, and if you get a little bit more distance on him, you can usually get one more Z off. Early to mid-game, it's effectively about, I would say, 30 to 40% of someone's health. End game, it can actually end up being about half to 60% of someone's health. And you get one more, usually. There we go. So yeah, that's effectively the combo, and it's the only way that you really can carry as a support, because you can do this every 4 seconds. I mean, of course, you have to wait for your cooldowns and stuff, but you should be biting every 4 seconds, and you can do this combo every 15 seconds. So that's the main combo. If you're initiating with Rehgar, I see too many times where they try to they Z in. This is what happens every time. Let me refresh the forts. This is what I see all the way up to Masters. Are you ready? And everyone's going to say, this is such a basic tip. But no, watch. This is what happens. And you're going to see this all the way up to Masters. You walk up to the enemy. You ready? You drop down your E. And then you walk up. And maybe W yourself, right? You do no damage. The reason why is because when you are using your E, you're getting out of your wolf form, which means that your wolf form is going on cooldown, and you can no longer get that burst damage of, what is that, like 434 damage? So you go into wolf form, and then you use your E, and boom, you're out of wolf form, you lost your lunge, and you might even have lost your damage. So don't do that. Wolf form, E, W, and then just auto attack them until your wolf form's back up. easily 50% of someone's health later in the game, 30% easy trades early game. It's an easy way to you could even solo lane as Rehgar just because you're so scary with that combo. And the greatest part is as you're using your W, say you lunge back here and you're chasing him, you're killing the wave as you're chasing him with your W. So there's a variety of options of using it, and it's very strong. The next mistake is kind of added into the last mistake of if you're sitting in lane and you are too afraid to go in with a bite first because you're afraid that you're going to get like flipped by a Diablo or something, then you end up like your tank goes in, right? And you put a W and a Q on your tank. Let's say he's the tank. You just lost the cooldown on your Ghost Wolf, meaning that once your tank goes in, you can no longer go in. So what's recommended, what I always tell people to do is you stay out of Ghost Wolf when you get into a fight. And let me refresh really quick, and I'll show you kind of what it is, what it looks like. And so this is kind of how this works, right? Your tank's going in, and if you do your W and your Q on the tank there when he goes in, you still have your Z to go jump on someone. But if not, and you were Zing in the fight waiting for an opportunity to go in, and then your tank immediately jumps in, you could go in with Ghost Wolf first, but you're losing opportunity to do a lot of damage with W. Because if W goes out, you can do quite a bit of damage if it stays the entire time. So it's best to, when you get in lane, just stay out of Ghost Wolf, save the cooldown. But then also, kind of a mini tip with this, when you're fighting the enemy and you don't need to worry about the enemy tank, you should always get value off of your Z. So every time the enemy is in range and not just like hiding at a tower, you should always be doing quick Zs, especially if the enemy is a melee hero, like a Thrall or something. Every time the Thrall's in there, you're just like, boom, just jump on him. And then every 4 seconds, you jump on him. It's another kind of mini mistake that I see that people aren't ever abusing the Z. And the last mistake, last but not least, I might do a little mini one after this as well, is effectively people aren't using their totems for vision. Totems don't cost that much mana, honestly, and this totem has a lot of health. So I always see this, and it's always a huge mistake, is like people will just be like sitting in a lane and they'll just toss out their one like right up here, which is fine. You hit a lot of the wave, but at the same time, the greatest part about this is it gives vision in the bush. So not only are you healing pretty much everyone that's still in the lane and healing the minions, which is also kind of a mini tip, is you can heal minions as well as you can heal camps. So let's say, for example, we were to take this camp right here, and you want to keep the siege camp alive as long as possible, or you want to keep the bruiser camp alive as long as possible. You can give it an extra 20% of its health by dropping a good healing totem. But yeah, not using your totems to give extra vision is just a huge mistake that I see, especially when people are trying to do something like a boss. Tossing down that, it lasts for so long. It's 10 seconds. So you can effectively use it as like a ward in League of Legends. But yeah, that's a huge mistake. Then the mini mistake that I can give is this healing totem dies very quickly. So placing it like really aggressively can get it killed very quickly by just pretty much a single E. Look at that. 1 E, that thing's dropped. So it's a very risky one compared to like your E, which you can play more aggressively. Let me see if she tosses one here. It has a lot more health. Come on, toss an E at me. Oh, wow. But yeah, you can see it takes a lot more hits. So yeah, effectively that's the last tip, is make sure that your healing totem is positioned kind of far back, or of course for vision. But if you place it far back, it's much harder for the enemies to get up there and do it. I see people place these aggressive and they waste the whole cooldown. But the E's you can definitely place more aggressive. That's definitely something you should do. So some of these might have been pretty basic tips. Again, not too crazy, but effectively they're definitely things that I see all the way up to Masters, especially this one where people walk into lane with Z, and then they realize, oh, I need to heal my team, and then they heal their team, and they can't do any like jumping on the enemies or anything like that because their Z's on cooldown. So walk into lane with this, and then you can use your abilities first, and you can immediately go into your Z's and do quite a bit of damage. Also, just abuse how much damage Rehgar really does. He does a surprising amount of damage, and he has great initiates. So Rehgar, one of the big problems that I find with Rehgar is like people don't want to pick him because his healing is like a lot lower than most other healers. But the amount of damage that he can do and the amount of initiates he can do really leads up to the fact that you don't really need as much, especially if you can zone someone out. Like, you scare them with how much damage you can do. You can really zone out a lot of damage dealers, so you don't need as much healing. But yeah, that's Rehgar for you. If you have any extra tips for Rehgar, feel free to throw it in the comments below. He's a really cool he's a really cool support who is being used quite a bit in like the HGC, Korea, and China and all that. While he's not being used too much in NA, he is gaining a lot of popularity in those areas just because he has a lot of health. He's great for dive comps, as well as he's great whenever you have a solo tank, because you can do the ancestral combos to keep a solo tank in a fight for much longer. Something like this. In solo tanks, there's no chance they're going to die. So yeah, he's definitely an interesting support. I hope this encouraged some people to try out Rehgar again and see how he goes. Thank you.